then I think we all need to come back to the table.
And in a real sense, what we're saying, Mr. Young, is that the absence of any kind of financial resources to help support the things that the two of you are doing also helps create a large number of other social problems. When we talk about incarceration, we talk about violence, gangs, drugs, and etc. All is tied into the fact that there are no structures within our community to help, excuse me, alleviate some of these problems. Is that what we're saying?
I definitely agree with that. And another thing that's so valuable, you know, to add on to your point is that, you know, these organizations, you know, like the Eye of the Future, I remember that program, you know, and Calvin Peterson, he ran that program for years and years and years. And I just remember one day he was saying, well, you know, I got to let the program go. And I never understood why he said that, but, you know, now seeing, you know, what I see now is based on finances, based on the money.
No kind of support.
But our part, right?
Not just from the local government, but also from your neighborhood.
Neighbors,
Neighborhood got to pitch in, the leaders, everybody.
There's such a, and of course what we're going to do, we're going to take our second commercial break, and then we're going to come back during this last segment and allow you to further elaborate upon what the three of you consider to be some of the issues. And we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. Thank you and welcome back to the final segment of the show for today. We're talking to Ms. Greenlee, Mr. Young, and Mr. Flowers, and the topic is broken generation. What we're trying to do with this program this morning, Ms. Greenlee, is to make people aware of the lack of any kind of resources that can help many of our young people stay out of trouble in a real sense. And I think the term you use is broken generation, and I think that a large number of our young people fall within that category, not because of their own inability to do anything, but simply because of the inability of the government, local communities, private organizations to help provide the resources that are necessary to keep them out of jail, to keep them out of killings and et cetera. Speak to it from that perspective, Ms. Greenlee.
Well, Dr. Haney, if you really look at it, people do their research. Everything that we had, like Mr. Young was saying from the early 90s, it's either been cut out, it's been shut down, or it's been taken away. The budgets have been cut. It always been cut in our low-income communities. We had it where we was filtering out. So now you want to talk about the high rate of incarceration, the drug sales, the gangbangers. Okay, everybody know my son was murdered by a gang member, but it was not because he was struggling, he couldn't find a job and stuff like that. It was because wouldn't nobody let him in. So if you got people, you know, getting busted selling drugs and stuff like that, you got to think, you know, they trying to work. Everybody don't have a felon. Everybody not going to be able to go to college. Everybody's not going to be able to qualify for Belmont, Vanderbilt, Oasis, Mount O'Brien. Some people, you put an application in some stuff, you either make $1 too much or $1 too less. So where we come in at between. So until we start realizing that we have to put our own monies in together, leaders have to put in monies in a pot for our own selves in order for us to continue to be out here and to work and make our lives, our youth, and our community more safer and watch it grow instead of sitting back watching things grow around us and we not being involved. I don't understand how we can sit back and just watch that.
Speak to that, Mr. Young.
Well, my thing on it is that, you know, our young youth, you know, they don't have income. They don't. I remember when I grew up, it was a program called CETA. Every summer, I had a summer job making money, and that kept me out of trouble. You know, because you work, and then once you get your money, you go and, you know, take care, do whatever you're gonna do, buy your candy, buy your school clothes, whatever you got to do. But now it's like we're not blessed with that silver spoon in our mouth. You know, non-blacks, they got 80% chance of being successful. Non-black kids, 87%. So that means you can make 2 or 3 mistakes and still come back and you be successful. But our young boys, our kids, that's not the case.
Mr. Flowers.
Well, a lot of things, I mean, quite a few things I like to address. As I was coming up in the Preston Taylor projects, Preston Taylor homes, our community has changed tremendously. Of course, they'll knock the brick projects down and they don't rebuild some nicer homes and things like that. But they took our community center away from us. I mean, so now all the kids, a lot of kids now, they're turning to drugs. And so, I mean, that's one thing that I say is like, I see all these signs of these governments when it's time for elections, they want to show up, walk through your neighborhoods and things like that. But why can't we visit our neighborhoods throughout the years? Why can't we do that quarterly to see what we need in our community? That center was a big part of our community because at the community center, we had haunted houses, we had skating parties, we had dances, we had programs, African drum programs. A lot of programs came through there with Mr. Perry when he was down there working there, and now we don't have that. So a lot of kids are turning to drugs. A lot of kids are turning to gang violence, and so we need things local in the community. Look at our stores. We have malt liquor stores all in our community. We don't have the fruits and vegetables that's close. Everybody don't have a vehicle, so we need to reach out to our community and come together and bring these resources together. Just as Mr. Young, I worked with him when I was younger, passing out flyers and things like that, selling candy bars. Why? He helped me put money in my pockets to buy school clothes because my mom had 5 kids and she wasn't able to do it by herself. So we need to fund these programs and find out about these programs and get the resources there so we can turn our communities around. And like Miss Greenlee said, when we get these funds, we're not alert about what's going on in our community. When they set them signs out there and they talking about these meetings, well, I grew up, we don't know nothing about that. They're not pulling us together, knocking on our doors to say, hey, we need you to come to this meeting because we're trying to do these zone hearings. I'm 34 years old and I'm just finding out about these things. Why? Because I'm blind to that. And so it's basically like we've been blindsided by a lot of things. And so we need to come together and work as a unit. And so I see exactly where she's coming from, and I'm there to support and try to bring things together to better our community.
Go.
I would like to say something. I want to add to that. You know, the thing about it is, you know, everybody's wise. You know, the government's wise, the leaders are wise. So if it's a problem in the black neighborhood, then they should be the first to know. So if it's an epidemic, then we got to go ahead and take care of that. You see what I'm saying? So why spend $250-something million on some development or renovation when we need 50 or 60 million in the black neighborhood, you know, to save our young boys? especially when it's an epidemic. It's an epidemic.
And so the three of you would agree that unemployment, and I think that that's one of the prime things that we're talking about in a real sense, that these young people really don't have any opportunities toward employment and et cetera. And so, and I would suspect that it's probably much worse than we think it is.
Oh,
because all you have to do is look around, and when you turn on the news at night and you see some of the problems, young people trying to just make money anyway, snatching money off people who riding by with bicycles and whatever, anything that they might be able to use in order to get a little money. And I think that's the real problem. And I think that all of you have identified that as a real issue here. Now, another thing, what about methods that we, as young people have thought of in terms of trying to stop voting, for example, participation in the political process. We've got an election that's coming up. But now, if we don't participate, then
no change won't be made. And that's another thing. Like you said, if you have these programs to where it needs to be drawn out when these elections come, we need to have these programs to go out and educate people on voting and the importance of voting, because like I said, we wasn't taught, but I am a registered voter and I do vote, and I will be voting this coming August. But it's like getting to know who we're voting for, because a lot of people just running with the crowd. And so that's the thing. We need to be educated about that. I mean, what do these people do and what they're not going to do, or what improvements need to be made so we can present these things to these candidates and see if they grab interest. But myself right now, to be part of the community, I coach for the Jefferson Street Bills, 7- and 8-year-olds, and that's helping giving back to the community, because I had coaches that gave back to me. And so that's what we're trying to do now, is just find different avenues to grab these kids by the hand and give them something to do other than being on these corners and selling drugs and joining gangs.
Mr. Young?
Yeah, I would also want to add to that is, you know, I'm working on a campaign, and this is like my first time working. And if I could do it all over again, I would have became a politician, because a politician, they controls everything. You know, they know everything that's going on in this city. They know everything that needs to be done for these neighborhoods and these communities. So I would have became a politician, because you know the things that I see, like he said, you know, everybody's coming out now. They want you to vote for them, but once they get that office, are you going to see them again? So this time we want to make sure whoever become our leader, our local leader in Nashville, we're going to hold you accountable.
You know, it appears to me that one of the things that we need to do is to make sure, and I think Mr. Flowers has hit up on it, to make sure that people are registered to vote. You see, because I understand that only 6% of 6 out of 100 people vote in the Nashville elections and et cetera. When you got a voter turnout like that, nobody's concerned, because the politicians have money. And the government has money, and the only thing that shakes the money tree is a vote. You see, and people who don't participate in it don't get served in a real sense. It's a terrible thing to say, but I think that that's true. And I think that what we're doing, we're coming to the last few seconds of this show today. And I want to thank the three of you for coming by and giving us that excellent information in reference to what Ms. Greenlee has described. And I think she's the first person that has described this situation as a broken generation. She talked about broken women and et cetera. And so we want to thank the three of you, and we want to encourage our audience to tune in again next week for another informative edition of Comments. Thank you and good morning.